people are really simple. We always look for shortcuts in our life. And so make it easy for people to identify you among other people.
Make conscious effort that everything that you produce online, it's actually aligned with who you are as a person, because it will be judged for generations.
When building my personal brand is I would start by understanding what my strengths are and also understanding what I really want to pursue.
The one thing that has stayed, it's my passion. Having a passion that is very, very clear, it's something that has helped me to also be able to produce content that is authentic to who I am. What's up, underdogs? Welcome to another episode of the Entrepreneurial Underdog. And today we have a surprise for you. Today it's a special edition. So many of you requested to have something quick, something bite-sized and full of value. And so today we're bringing you the rapid fire edition of this podcast, in which in just 30 minutes or less, we compress the maximum amount of value, the most important things about a topic that you want to know more about. And today's topic, it's all about building a memorable personal brand online, right? Becoming that industry leader and attracting your dream clients. And so, Robert, as a brand strategist, I would love to immediately dive into your brain and gauge on, where do we even start when it comes to building a personal brand online?
Yeah, 100%. So the very first place that I would start when building my personal brand is I would start by understanding what my strengths are and also understanding what I really want to pursue. Because a lot of people are great at something, but then sometimes they don't really enjoy doing that one thing. Like some people are great, for example, at working in Excel. Let's just say that, working in Excel spreadsheets, but it's not a passion of theirs, okay? They're not they don't want to see that as their future. And so it's really important to understand what you actually love doing versus, and also what you actually have a really good skill in. So understanding that is the best place to start. Know your strengths and know what you want to pursue.
Yeah, well, that begs the question of how can one find its strengths, right? Because it's really hard, when you're starting out, for you to say I'm great at that. And so many people, they even struggle with their own personal confidence and self-esteem to say, hey, I'm actually great at that. And, so many of our followers, they keep on asking us, right? Well, I don't have any results. How can I speak about my results if I don't have any? Where do I start?
Yeah, well, it's a really good question. And that's one problem that I actually faced in the beginning. So for anyone who is from the UK, any fellow Brits out there, you'll probably understand that most of us suffer from being a little bit too humble. And this is the first piece of advice that I would give to everyone is you've kind of got to put being humble to the wayside a little bit, especially if you want to understand what you're good at, because you're going to have to actually actively listen to the compliments that you get, accept them, and learn how to improve on those compliments that you're getting. Because for myself, I know that people have said, oh, hey, Robbie, you're really good at communicating. And then I'll be like, oh, whatever, it's fine. Or they'll say, oh, you're really witty, the way that you can quickly come up with things. And then I'm just like, yeah, it's okay. I do it now and then. And that is a huge problem because you're not actively listening and taking the feedback and the compliments that you're getting and turning them into something more. So that's one of the first places that I would start, is actively listen for the compliments that you're getting in your life, be that in your current job, be that from a friend. Always be listening and taking that feedback and those compliments.
Yeah, I love that. And for the people who say, well, but I don't have really any results, right? Well, it's important that you actually go ahead and build those results. And the easiest way for you to do it is you don't have to work with the client in order to get results. You can get those results for yourself, right? I'm always suspicious of dentists who have bad teeth, or people who are willing to grow my social media but have less followers than me, and people who, pretend to be an expert in something that I can clearly see they are not, okay? And so you want to be able to first get the results yourself, or at least get them for a variety of people, because otherwise you're less credible when it comes to sharing your expertise online. And so there'll be less people listening to you,
Mm.
and less people will care about your story because your story will be incoherent, right? And so it's important that you first build the base for yourself or for your clients. And then I think, Robert, what is essential is to find your identity, right? To get on that
Mm.
path and to really understand who you really are and how you want people to perceive you. And so, we've been through that path, and I've had many identity crises myself. And I'm curious to hear, how can people realistically, right, find it for themselves?
Yeah, sure. I actually wanted to cover a point before we jump into this, because something that you mentioned before that really stuck out to me on, finding a skill that people will be willing to pay you for. In the beginning, it is going to be really hard, and I think it's really important to mention that if you are looking to get those initial clients in, the best place for you to start is to get some beta clients. Maybe charge a lot lower than what the market expects at the time,
Don't charge
or
at all.
even start doing
Yeah.
it for free. Exactly. And so, taking that position, you can literally undercut the entire market and give something that you feel that you would like to pursue in your life a chance, and giving other people the chance to benefit from the value that you have to give. And if you have several of those beta clients coming off of the call saying that this was incredible and this really helped me, then you know that you're onto
I love
something.
that.
And so I thought that was really
Yeah.
important
And
to address.
on that
But yeah,
note, it's important for people to understand that you don't need someone to personally mentor you. Okay, you don't need to work with them for you to have a mentor. You can go out and study people online. This is the greatest opportunity of the century. Is literally finding people online, okay, and just binging their content. And then when it comes to working with people for free, it's the greatest way for you to demonstrate that you actually have some skills. And that's the best way that you can literally work with your favorite coaches. If you identify that they have a need, get in touch with them and directly provide them with that need. Don't ask them, hey, like, what would you need help with? How can I help you? Just get in touch, provide the value, get the results, ask for a testimonial, ask for a referral. That is your starting point. Okay. And now let's move on to finding your identity, right? It is important for people to understand, right? How do they want people to perceive them, who they truly are, and what's their mission? But again, where do you start from that?
Absolutely. Well, especially when it comes to building a personal brand, the most important thing about your personal brand is you, right? And so understanding first, like how do the world currently see you?
Hmm.
That would be a phenomenal place to start. And yeah, so this is kind of exploring with your friends, like how do they perceive your personality? Okay, like what are they saying about the specific characteristics that you have? Are you quirky? Are you fun? Are you serious? Are you quite relaxed? Understanding that first is going to be like your best kind of base to build upon, because this is going to influence how you interact with other people when you start sharing your thoughts and your views online, how you speak to other people online as well. A lot of people I sometimes see, like they have like a little bit of an identity crisis, and they will curate their perfect uh, their perfect view of themselves, and then they put that online. But the best personal brand that you can create is being true to who you are in real life. Okay, this is the best place to start. So starting with your personality, and then jumping into also what are the things that you enjoy sharing with your friends, what are the things that you enjoy speaking about on a regular basis. This also is going to start crafting your ideal persona online. So know what you want to speak about, know how people perceive you. And also, for those who love showing up, who love showing their face, having a dress code is really important, and really leaning into that dress code. And what I mean by that is, by leaning into a dress code, find what kind of style that you have and really own it. So if you like wearing suits, own it. Don't show up one day with like literally just like some baggy jeans or like a tracksuit. Like, find something that you can wear on a regular basis to build memorability, because people are really simple. We always look for shortcuts in our life, and so make it easy for people to identify you among other people. And I'll give you a really good example. You'll all remember like Steve Jobs, his jumper and his jeans that he would always wear to everything that he would do. He literally would wear nothing else. It was literally just that basic cardigan and his jeans. And we remember that because he understood the power of literally wearing something over and over again, building repetition and making it very easy to pick him out from a crowd of a billion other people. So really use that to your advantage. Find a style and keep leaning into it.
Yeah, I love that. And, it's exactly something that has helped me to build memorability with my brand. I love my shirts. I keep on wearing my shirts. And, this is how I dress in real life, right? People are like, wow, but you wear so many like colorful shirts. And is it to get attention? Is it to grab? It's important, especially if you're on video, to wear something that grabs attention, to have a background that is slightly more interesting, right? To get people engaged in the story. But realistically, the most important thing is, do you feel comfortable with the essence, with the identity that you're putting out there? And then you also need to understand that your identity will oftentimes change as your audience changes, right? I've gone from sharing entrepreneurship tips to talking about my personal journey, to talking about sales and marketing. And the one thing that has stayed, it's my passion. And so having a passion that is very, very clear, right? In my case, right, helping people, bringing them the clarity for them to build their business and develop a brand online, right? It's something that has helped me to also be able to produce content that is authentic to who I am. And I wanted to touch on a very important point, and it's vulnerability. I feel like a lot of people, they build a perfect brand, but that perfect brand doesn't resonate with anyone. And so I'm someone who has struggled for a while to open up and to speak about the hardship and to speak about, exactly the journey that I went through. And now I don't want you, underdogs, to be in that same position in which you feel like you cannot speak about your pain because you will be judged. Right? For me, it's important that you understand that exactly what makes you vulnerable makes you unique. And when you share that in a piece of content, you're literally changing lives, because it only takes one person to read your story and to resonate with you, and for them to carry out the change that they wish, to do, but they didn't have the courage to do. And after reading your story, everything changes for them. And so I'm curious, what's your take on when it comes to being vulnerable, right? Where does one how does one find the strength to share, right, their vulnerable moments of their life?
Well, I I believe that finding the strength to be vulnerable is a personal journey, and you need to be in a position where you're comfortable sharing the pain. And so there's a lot of things that I would recommend people online to not share, because if you're not in a position to share it, if you're not confident or comfortable in sharing it, then you won't. And so you've got to be in a position where you have actively overcome those vulnerable moments, or you're at least in a position where you've been through maybe so much shit in your life that you're used to seeing it happen, and so you're happy to talk through it with your audience. You're happy to bring them along through the journey and overcome it together. But here's the important thing with being vulnerable is that there does need to be a lesson involved. And so like it's important to not make it into a sob story, because nobody identifies with somebody constantly crying online. It's going to get very old very fast. And so understanding that there needs to be a lesson at the end of any vulnerability. It needs to be relatable. It needs to be things that other people are going through on a regular basis, and not just thinking, oh, if I share this one sad thing that happened to me, but then I leave it at that, people aren't really going to connect with that. There needs to be a point to it. There needs to be an end goal, and there needs to be a transformation personally for you at the end of that, where you became wiser, smarter, or a stronger person that you can teach others through that vulnerable story.
In summary, don't just cry online to get likes and follows. Okay. When you're telling a story, tell it because you want to share a lesson, because you want to help other people. Because, you know, in reality, I see so many people, they keep on posting, right, negative stuff about themselves, and they try to turn it into a lesson. Listen, you talking about how this client fired you up and how you're feeling super depressed and how you didn't complete the work that you were supposed to, but things are all right, and you're constantly losing clients and posting about it online, and clients fire you and you're posting about it online, and you feel depressed and you're posting about it online. It doesn't really want to make me work with you. It doesn't really want to make me follow you, because at the very end, it's almost turning in a sad movie that I'm constantly watching of your life. And here's the brutal reality. We often think that our life is super interesting, but the majority of people don't really care about our life. And to them, it's really literally a waste of time. Right. And so if you think your life is very interesting and you want to just talk about your personal stories, that's fine. But just don't expect, right, people to follow you and to become a fan of you just because you cry about all the sad things that happened in your life. Right. This isn't the way for you to build a personal brand which attracts clients. This is for you to just feel a little bit, of an ego boost, and a little bit of a, if you're searching for that understanding, there will be those people who will, that's really sad. I'm glad that you're doing better. I hope that you're feeling better. But posting about, equally posting about your losses as posting about your wins, you have to understand how to do it. And I want to speak about the contrary now, right? Posting about your wins. I feel like so many people, they're fantastic at what they're doing, but they never say that they're fantastic. They never showcase the results. They never speak about the wins, because they feel like if they do, maybe they're bragging. Maybe, some people will like judge them. Maybe some people will hate them for achieving the results. And I want to tell a personal story about a client of ours, right? She did a phenomenal marketing launch and made 30,000 in 24 days. And people online got to know about her success, and her following started growing. And suddenly they started almost hating on her. And they started even calling her and saying like, oh, you should drop that because you're killing the industry, because the way you work, it's a little bit different. And we don't like that because like social media is this new thing. You're not supposed to be doing that. And, they started eating her confidence. And we had a clarity call. And I explained to her, this is literally the projection of other people's own insecurities. If someone wants to have what you don't have and they don't have the courage to get it, they will always be hating on you, because they're literally reflecting their own issues on to you. So never be afraid to showcase your wins, and understand that whenever someone is ahead of you, trust me, they're not looking back and hating on you. It's because they're under that they try to push you, because they can see that you're ahead and they want to achieve what you have already achieved. And so don't be afraid to share your wins, because they're also part of your journey, and they make you more trustworthy. All right. And so, the final point I feel like then extremely important is to build a solid network. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, knowing who you want in your network is really important, and also knowing, who is going to be valuable to your network. You mentioned a really important point before when it came to like what you want to speak about online, and it's important to understand that people are like we are driven by our own self interest. That's kind of how we operate as people. We're very selfish, whether or not we choose to be open about that or not. It's just part of human psychology that we will only do what benefits us most. And so understanding where you want to go in life and who has the necessary skills and knowledge that can help you get to where you want to be in life is really important. So identify those people. If you look at your business, or if you look at what you're doing in life now, for those who don't have a business, and say, well, I need this, and this in order to improve, then go find those people and start to give them something that they would find valuable in order to catch those people's attention. We've always got to understand that, again, appealing to people's own self-interest. What do I, as a person, have to give this person of value that will benefit their life in order for them to entertain me for 5 seconds? Okay. And then you've got to build on that, because that's really all you're looking for, is that first 5 seconds to give them an introduction. And from there, you're going to have to continue to add that value. So, that is how I would start to build my network, is understanding how can I be of value to others. How about you, Alec? What would be some of your advice that you would give when it comes to building a
Showing
network?
interest makes you more interesting, because the majority of people, they're so self-centered that they only speak about themselves, and they never even care to ask the questions about the other person and finding what drives and what needs the other person has. So that is at the core of everything. Now, the other thing is, understand if each person is aligned with the journey that you're heading towards, right? If I have a mission that is to build my business, to live a fulfilled life, to have a family, to be with my family, to be healthy, to be strong, right? I certainly don't want the total opposites with me. I don't want people who are drinking, who are having drugs, who don't believe in having a family, who are totally weak, who are wasting their life, right? Because then they're going to drag you down. Right. And so when people say like your network is your net worth, and they say like, wow, but that's the biggest cliche, it's actually the freaking reality. It's like, more important than everything else is who you know. Okay. I know people in my life that they have almost no skills, they don't have anything, but they have one thing in particular, and is they're freaking amazing with people. And they got to be in the right circle. And I always wonder, right? How comes this guy that didn't achieve anything, like he's over there, right? It's because he knows a lot of people who are doing very well, and so he's in a circle of winners, and so therefore he starts becoming a winner. But if you surround yourself with people who are negative, with people who do not share your mission, with people who do not share your vision, and most importantly, your values, they're going to end up dragging you down. So reduce your circle, increase the quality, and reduce the quantity of friends that you have. That is my advice for people looking to
Yeah.
build a network online.
Absolutely, and I think what you mentioned, there's a powerful quote that I heard before. I can't remember who mentioned it, so full credit if they hear this, that it's yours. But you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with, and understanding that, it really says a lot about where you want to go in life. If you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with, who are those 5 people that you're going to introduce into your circle so that you can become the average of that? You got to set the bar pretty high if you want to become okay at
Yeah,
what they do.
totally. And I was just thinking about that exact same quote. So we're on the same wavelength. I again, I don't know who said it, but it's quite right. It's quite accurate. And then
Yeah.
finally, this is important also because eventually your personal brand leaves a legacy. And I always think, right, 60 years from now, what will my children see of me online? What will be my digital footprint? So when you think about your personal brand, think about the digital footprint, your digital legacy that you're leaving behind. For me, that is a massive driver for me to produce exceptional quality, but also to stay authentic to who I am. Because I know generations will watch what I'm doing. They will listen to this podcast and they'll say, wow, that's my father, that's my grandfather. They're going to share it with their friends. They will say like, hey, look, right, I already have, I don't have sisters or brothers, but my little cousin, and she's sharing it with her friends, and she's like, hey, look, that's him. And so every single word, every single text that I put online, because I have a personal brand, it matters a lot because it builds the most important thing that you have, and that is your reputation. And so make conscious effort that everything that you produce online, it's actually aligned with who you are as a person, because it will be judged for generations. For me, that's my number one tip when it comes to
Mm.
building a personal brand.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I sound off of that as well. You really got to be intentional about the actions that you do take online because everything's being recorded, whether you like it or not. And so, would you rather record like a documentary of bullshit, or would you want to have like a documentary where loads of people have been impacted by the efforts that you've put out into the world? And that's where my mind is at. So I always, and we spoke about this before, I'm always thinking, how can I be of value to others? How can I appeal to people's self-interest to make their lives easier, to make them feel smarter, and just to help give shortcuts for people in life? Because the easier you can make someone's life, you can
Mhm.
bet your bottom dollar that people will remember you, and they'll always say, hey, like, I remember this one time where you taught
Yeah.
me that, or I learned like all of these incredible things from you. So like that's one of the biggest things for me, is always understanding how I can be of value to other people, and then putting it into practice and doing my best to apply that on a daily basis to people and their
And
lives.
I love that, and it's so important because there are so many people that you never know which content piece, which text, which message will change someone's whole life. And I say it because just looking at my comments on a daily basis and finding people who say like, I just needed this, I really needed this today, right? This is what a personal brand is all about, right? And I think that's the biggest advantage in front of a business brand. A business brand, it tends to be oriented more towards the profit, and the personal brand, it's more oriented
Yeah.
towards the impact and the legacy that you're leaving behind. And so consider all of those tips when it comes to building a personal brand online. Robert, any last fire tip that you want to bring to our underdogs that would make them, right, start their personal brand and build a fantastic personal brand online?
That's a really good question. So like for me, one final tip that I would share and this again, this all comes down to how you can be more memorable. I kind of wanted to emphasize the importance again of finding that one thing that you could do on repetition that people are going to love and are going to be able to kind of identify you out of a sea of a billion people. Okay, so again, let's kind of like summarize where we went here to kind of give you this one final tip. Think about what your biggest strength is, know exactly what that strength is, and then make a point of sharing it on a regular basis so that your personal brand is cemented in people's brains. So find that one thing, talk about it consistently, keep doing it, build memorability, and continue to do that now and forever. that one thing is going to be your benchmark. And so for those of you who don't know what that one thing is, get a notepad and a pen and write down all of the things that you are really good at. Then say to yourself, how will this benefit other people in who I want to attract or in my life? Once you've got that answer, then explore the ways that you can actually put that into action. Write down a couple of ideas that you could do to put on the online space or to even do with your friends to begin with. And then just say, hey, like, here's what I'm going to do in order to apply this into other people's lives, and then do it. See how people respond. And if people respond positively, you know that you're onto something. And so that is my final tip of the day. We appreciate everybody who has been listening to this episode. Hope that you found value, and we will catch you in the next episode.
Thank you, Underdogs. Thank you for being here. Thank you to listening for this podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode. Remember, if you found any value in this episode, for us, it's extremely important that you share it with just one friend, okay? And this episode could change their life, and they're gonna thank you, and they're gonna be like, wow, thank you for sharing this with me. And so share this with someone who is looking forward to building their personal brand, or who have a talent and they need to showcase it online. We'll see you in the next one.